All right, morning. Oh, hope this audio works. I'm trying it with my earpods this morning. Out for a walk. Same place I always go. Starting off down at the boat ramps. But yeah, what I want to talk about today. Well, first off, intro. My name's Jason. I'm 54 years old. I have prostate cancer that's metastasized to my spine, and on this channel we talk about it. Things have been going good. I just got my last PSA test. I got my labs done. I got PSA still undetectable. So that's good. You know, every time it's a little bit of worry, like as it gets closer, you start exploring your symptoms and you're like, is this going to be the time? Is it going to go up? And it wasn't. It didn't go up. So yay. Yeah. In fact, my labs looked really good. I only had one because they do a CBC with differential. They do like the PSA and then 2 other labs. And everything looked really good for mine. It was the only thing I had out of bounds was sodium was a little high. My glucose was down. It had been hovering right around the 100 for the last 2 labs before this one. But this time it was down to 87. So that was good. Anyway, what I want to talk about on this one is my treatment. I met with my medical oncologist yesterday, and what he decided, we talked about the brain fog, the loss of cognitive function. We talked about those kinds of effects, the side effects. And I asked him, is there something we can do to mitigate that? I asked about going to every 6-month shots. He said for the 6-month shots that they do double the dose, so it wouldn't have the effect I wanted. Whew, I had to slow down. It wouldn't have the effect I wanted, which sucks. But I asked him, hey, have you had anybody that reduced the dose of the abiraterone? So I take Zytiga. I take 4 1,000 milligram pills every morning. And he said one. He said he had one patient reduce, but they didn't reduce it to 750. They reduced to 500. I said, without divulging any medical information that you're not allowed to divulge, can you tell me what the progression was? He said, as he recalls, they were on the 500 milligrams for a number of years. So, okay, what are the risks? What are the risks with going down to 750 milligrams instead of staying at 1,000? He said, well, the concern in the medical community is that I would become resistant to the drugs sooner. So generally, as I understand it, we generally all eventually become resistant to these drugs, and then they have to switch drugs, which is not great. Some guys, it's as fast as a year or 2. Average is like 3. But some guys are on these drugs for like 11 years with no issues. So the time to resistance,
I'm glad I would.
yeah, I don't know. Oh, there's no flowers today. Oh, that's a bummer. Apparently I've been looking forward to those. So they don't know what the mechanism is, but they can guess, and I can guess, right? If you don't want the cancer to figure out how to work around the drug, the androgen suppressor, then you superdose it. You throw a lot of that androgen suppressor at it and you keep it completely asleep. Keep the cancer completely asleep. Yeah. So the risk of going down to 750 milligrams is that I would become resistant sooner. If I'm not fully suppressing the cancer because of the if I'm not fully suppressing the cancer with the androgen suppressor, the Zytiga, the abiraterone, then the cancer wakes up a little and it's like, ooh, a challenge. How do we get around this? And it starts figuring out a way to become resistant. So what's the right dose? Well, I don't know. They have typically thrown 1,000 milligrams. And at the start of this, I'm a big guy. I'm over 300 pounds. Is 1,000 milligrams the full dose for me? They don't do it by weight. They just say, you got a 130-pound guy, you got a 300-pound guy, give them each 1,000 milligrams. That doesn't seem like good doctoring to me. But that's what they do, which makes my risk even higher if my 1,000 milligram dose isn't actually, fully suppressive. So that's a worry. I worry about that. But we talked about those risks, and I talked about my demotion. I talked about, I don't know how much longer I can keep dealing with these cognitive issues without serious, quality of life, financial impact. And so what he agreed to, and this surprised me, he's, as a medical oncologist, he's typically been very, very by the book. But he was in a really good mood yesterday. He said, here's what we'll do, Jason. He says, just stop taking one of the pills. He says, I'll see you again in 3 months. We'll watch your PSA. We'll see how you feel. He says, you may not feel any different. Like, this is just guess space, right? He says, you may not feel any different. You may, dropping down to just 3 pills, 750 milligrams, may not have any effect on my cognitive function, but maybe it does. And so we're gonna try it. So starting this morning, I got up, I took 3 pills, had my cup of coffee. I'm nervous about this because the cancer can progress if it's not fully suppressed. And I've been really, really lucky so far with my cancer. It has been no progression. In fact, it seems like we've really, really knocked it in the dirt. The biopsy on my spine showed no cancer in my L1, and that was huge. Like, we didn't think that was going to happen. And then the PET scan came back showing no cancer, no active cancer. Now, it doesn't mean the tumors aren't still there, of course. What a mess. What a mess this throws into our lives. Whew, my lower back's tightening up harder already. I slow down even further. Just taking little steps now. But yeah, it's amazing what kinds of things we now have to worry about that we didn't have to worry about before. So some good news. Let's talk about some good news. I'm not sure I'm going to do it yet. I'm thinking about getting back on my bicycle. I was going to sell it. But I've sold a lot of things. I had a a bumper pull trailer, 19-foot trailer. I sold that last year. I just can't go camping anymore. My truck broke right before I got diagnosed, and sold the truck at the auction, so I didn't have any way to pull the trailer. So then last year I sold the trailer. I had a Mustang 1967 GTA. Yeah, I sold that. I can't work on it anymore. It's just too much. It needed way more work than what I'm able to put into it. Sold my Jeep. I had a Jeep that I bought brand new in 1990. Sold that. And then, of course, my dad passing, and then, morning. And then, now the demotion at work. Things just pile on. And then I was like, I might as well sell the bicycle. I'm trying to turn that around. I'm trying to turn that mentality around. Do you ride bicycles? Anybody that still has a prostate, do you still ride a bike? That's a lot of pressure on that organ with the cancer tumors in it, cancer cells in it. It's a lot of pressure, and I don't know, it worries me. I'm gonna do a cutout on my seat. I've got a nice leather Brooks saddle. I like the Brooks saddles. They're from the UK. I've had this Brooks saddle on 2 bikes now. It's nicely worn in. It's a leather style saddle, and I'm gonna take a hole saw to the leather and put a cutout in it. That's what I decided I'm gonna do. And I'm gonna try and give my bike a tune-up and get back on the bike. So we'll see how that goes. Oh, it's a gorgeous day. It's a little cloudy. It's these other videos, I always pick perfectly gorgeous mornings. But this morning it's a little cloudy. More over here. We've had a lot of rain lately. Today it's 42 degrees Fahrenheit, which is, that's an easy one, about 5 or 6 degrees Celsius. You know, to convert between the two easily, between centigrade or Celsius and Fahrenheit, you just have to look at the range. So the freezing point in Fahrenheit is 32 degrees Fahrenheit. And the boiling point is 212 degrees Fahrenheit. So what is that, 180 degrees difference? 180 degree range. And the point between freezing and boiling in Celsius is 100 degrees, 100 increments. So Fahrenheit's roughly twice of Celsius. You know, a little less than twice. And the reference zero of 32 degrees Fahrenheit, you just got to take the 32 Fahrenheit off. So 42 minus 32 is 10. Half of that's 5, and I know it's a little more than 5, so 5 or 6. I don't have a calculator. I'm not calculating it exactly, but I'll bet it's 5 to 6 degrees Celsius. That's how you do that. So take Fahrenheit, subtract 32, divide it in half. Whew. Yeah, I'm gonna have to rest. My back is really locked up. What a gorgeous little inlet. Little cottages down here, right on the water, right along the walk path. I guess they're not cottages, I guess they're actual homes. Condos, maybe? I don't know. All right, I'm starting to babble. Let's call this a video. I'm gonna come up here and sit down for a little bit. And I'm thinking about all of you. Over the next 3 months, I'm gonna be paying attention to how I feel. I'm doing chess again to see, because that's a good idea of where you're at cognitively. So I'm doing chess puzzles and stuff again. And I'm going to see if over the next 3 months it slowly goes up. Because that'll be an indication that the 750 is working. But also, I don't want to deal with the risk of progression. So, what do I do with that? Oh, what do I do with that? I don't know. Is it worth the risk? Well, with the job issue, I think I've faked it long enough, and it's now worth the risk. So I'm going to start lowering started lowering my dose, and we're going to see how 750 milligrams a day of abiraterone does. All right, wish me luck. Love you all. Bye.